Hi class, this is the fourth and the last of this series of discussions on typography. This particular lecture is about typography hacks, guides for styling type. Now, by hacks, I mean just some easy things you can remember, some things you can put in your pocket to pull out when you're having problems with an assignment or a project you're working on for a client. You got a deadline and you got to get going. It's always good to be able to reference back on something to get a job done. And our basic rule number one is context. All right, what is context? Context, when we use the use of typography, is complicated because it communicates in very subtle ways. How does a sans serif font feel as opposed to a serif font? Should all caps be used for emphasis, or should italics be a better way? Would italics be a better way to get someone's attention? This gets even more complicated by the sheer number of available fonts on the Adobe Creative Cloud and sites like DaFont. So before you pick your first font to use, before you start any design project, ask yourself, what is the function or purpose of the item I am about to design? What is the context of my design challenge? Okay, what am I talking about? Well, let's explore a little bit more here. A t-shirt design should not look like a flyer or the front panel on a food product carton. So its use of typography has to feel and look differently too. This is context. This is the context you are designing for. If the context is a t-shirt, the message probably will be something entertaining, going to grab your attention. You're walking down the sidewalk, somebody sees you, reads it, thinks about it, laughs, makes a comment. The typographic role will be fun, bold, and simple enough to be read on cloth. Okay? And here's an example of type done very well for typography for a black t-shirt. The colors chosen, the way it's arranged, really a nice job of typography. Okay, unlike typography for a t-shirt, fonts for packaging design must work in harmony with other elements on the 6 panels of the carton. These boxes also must sit on a shelf. They're never alone. They are with others like it and also the competitor of this product, whether it's cookies or toothpaste or cologne. So there's also a lot of text needed to inform the customer of what they are buying. In packaging, typography has to work with illustrations, with photos, with color shapes, and other design items on the visual field. Many times the font simply supports the design of photo. Sometimes it takes center stage. It certainly is center stage in that very minimal package, plain. Okay, here's a flyer. All right, flyers, see them all the time. You make them all the time. This flyer is for a Getty Villa field trip that I had several years ago. And it's set up in a very classic flyer style. Large type on top, a little bit smaller type below it. Then you get the text type, you get a photo, and then a photo in the corner. Your eyes move over the entire area. It's not the most revolutionary or impactful design, but it's not really supposed to be. This was much more informational for my students. Now, you want impact, here we go. Again, 2 packaging items, all right? So when you design within the context of your task, whether it's a business card, like in the upper right, or just redesigning the panels on a box of pasta, create an exciting, well-integrated design using the most appropriate fonts that are perfectly styled. What does well integrated mean? What's well integrated design? All the elements work together. You look at it and it just looks right. In fact, it looks simple. The thing is, it took hours to get to that simple. All right? And be sure your design looks like packaging or a business card. You may be saying, yeah, I understand this, Mr. Jankowski, but I get so many designs from students that don't look like what they're supposed to look like. So this really takes a shift. You can't just do the last thing you were looking at. You have to rethink. Concept and thinking comes before design. Rule 2, neutral versus expressive. Now, two of the most basic functions of typography are being neutral and being expressive. Neutral typography is for information only. Give me the information. I just want the information. You don't have to dazzle me. It's kind of like that flyer I did. It's not looking for attention. It wants you to read the text as easily as possible, as quickly as possible, in an unstyled, neutral manner. Helvetica is a great neutral font. Expressive typography is just the opposite. It has something to say. Maybe even more so, it has something to shout. The first thing is probably, look at me. Some other messages would be, I'm bold, I'm decorative, but trendy, I'm elegant, I'm sophisticated. Look at me, look at me. Okay? If you want to give it a personality profile, expressive typography would be narcissistic. It wants you to notice it. Expressive typography rarely rests quietly on an even baseline. It jumps up and down and it jumbles about. Okay? So as a designer, your challenge is to know when to use expressive versus neutral typography, and how expressive you need or don't need to be. All right? Here we go with continuing on with neutral. Here are some examples. These are all holy books. The style, the photographs, the style, font styling in textbooks or holy books such as the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, and the Sutras is meant to be without an opinion. It is neutral, it is flat. You are meant to extract the meaning from the text, the words only. That's for you to decide. All right? Airports, I had mentioned before. When you're in an airport, when you're stressed and you need to be at the right place at the right time, you need to make a deadline, you want your information neutral and you want it fast. And that is why I had mentioned the font Helvetica is used at every international airport in the world. The last thing you need in an airport or while you're driving on an expressway that you've never been on, and you're near these signs that distract you from their message. Okay, go here, exit ahead 1 mile. Neutral typography is quiet and informational. Just the facts, please. You may exit here. Okay, not like the bottom one. Even if you were Chinese, this is a lot of writing. The one on the right, Crazy Town. Great neon, beautiful. I love this old time neon. Not for signage, not for directions. Being expressive. With expressive typography, a font and its family, light, regular, bold, etc., is used to full force to communicate an idea and to instill a feeling. Now look at these fonts. They all are being very expressive, but they're not per se decorative fonts. They're not really expressive. It's how the designer is using them. Look at bowling. The I is a bowling pin. Nice and tight. It's very tight letter spacing. All right? Tracking. I'm a catch. I think this is really cute. It looks like the C is forming a fishbowl. Here's some more expressive. Now we're notching it up. Now we are getting really aggressive. We're adding a little bit of illustration here too. This is crafting logos. Some logos really need to shout. And expressive type can also be very subtle, or it can be wildly crazy whimsical. Here it's very subtle. This is very, very subtle. I was debating whether to put this in as expressive, but I think it's expressive. I think it's beautiful. Look at this, on the right hand side, that spread. How beautiful, how restrained that is. I love typography like this. All right? Okay, kids' books. What do you want to do with kids' books? You want to get their attention and you want them to open the cover and read. And here's some example. Horton Hears a Who. I hope you've all read this. Okay, these are classics. A couple others. The one on the far right is German. But the animals still are kind of communicating the same thing. It's not quite sure what's going on, but very beautifully illustrated. And the type, too, is beautifully illustrated. It's kind of bouncing around. Bear's big bottom. Just all fun. This is very expressive typography. And the context, a kid's book, children's books. Here we go with some more expressive typography for adults. Here's To Kill a Mockingbird. I gave the beginning credits for you to watch. Okay, The Arrival of Someday, The Gray. By the way, as far as spelling goes, I'll mention some things that spell. Gray is spelled with an E if it's British. If it's American, it's with an A. Okay? I'm not very good at spelling, but I have learned to be because it is how people judge you. Okay? Here's some magazines, too. It's expressive. I would say the type is expressive in the way it is working with letter spacing, with negative space, much more than anything else. So here we go. We're getting toward the end here of this lecture. Expressive typography usually must mix and blend perfectly with neutral typography and other elements on an ad, a landing page, on a website, poster or magazine spread. A good way to do this is to do little sketches. These are called thumbnail sketches. They're probably, say, about, 2-3 inches across, a little bigger than your thumbnail, but we call them thumbnails. And they give you a quick, you can think quickly and lay out things very quickly when you're just doing boxes. The X in the box means photo here. And then you have lines where you would put your text, okay? So this is a good example of a very quick way to lay out headlines, photos, and body copy too. And then on the right, you see some examples of an actual magazine or a brochure. So the conclusion is, keep in mind that the context of your job and how to use expressive and or neutral type where it's needed. All good designers are expert jugglers. We are good jugglers. Learn how to juggle color and photos and illustrations and charts along with perfectly styled typography. That's our job. That's what we do, okay? Deconstruct good work that you can see and ask yourself, what is that font they're using? And why did they do that? I don't know why, but I just love it. Take it apart, figure it out. Thank you. That's the end of this series.